How a midnight kitchen changed a nation's taste. It didn't open during business hours. It didn't appear on maps. And it was never meant to be found. This story matters now because culture often shifts in the margins, long before it reaches the spotlight. While trends are usually credited to institutions, the real transformations often begin quietly after midnight. To understand how a hidden kitchen reshaped a nation's taste, we need to return to a city that never truly slept, and to the people who cooked when no one was watching. Because today, influence still moves fastest where attention is lowest. The kitchen existed only at night, after restaurants closed, after markets packed up, after official rules relaxed. A narrow space behind a shuttered storefront became something else entirely once the lights went down. Cooks gathered there without hierarchy. No head chef, no menu. Everyone brought something, an idea, an ingredient rescued from waste, a technique learned at home, not school. The goal was simple: feed whoever showed up. At first, it was necessity. Late shifts ended hungry. Money was scarce. The midnight kitchen solved the problem. But over time, it became ritual, a place where pressure dissolved, where experimentation felt safe because failure carried no consequences. Dishes emerged that could not exist elsewhere. Too messy, too bold, too personal. Flavors collided without permission. Old techniques met new ingredients. The results were inconsistent but electric. Word spread through whispers. Taxi drivers, hospital workers, musicians finishing sets. People arrived not knowing what they would eat. That uncertainty became part of the appeal. The kitchen never advertised. It couldn't. By daylight, it vanished. No signage, no schedule, just memory. Yet something powerful was forming there. A new palate, one shaped by improvisation, by hunger, by freedom from rules. And when the city finally noticed, it was already too late to contain. As nights passed, patterns began to form. Not recipes, but instincts. Certain flavors returned again and again. Heat balanced with sweetness. Richness cut by acid. Comfort disrupted just enough to stay interesting. The cooks noticed first. Dishes that worked at midnight felt flat in daylight kitchens. Freed from expectations, they had taken risks they would never attempt publicly. Those risks reshaped their sense of taste. Guests noticed next. People who ate there regularly found themselves dissatisfied elsewhere. Restaurant menus felt predictable. Portions felt staged. Flavors felt restrained. The midnight kitchen had recalibrated their palate. What made it powerful was context. No branding. No price signals. No hierarchy. Everyone ate the same thing, standing or sitting wherever space allowed. Conversation flowed between strangers. Food became connector, not commodity. However, the kitchen remained fragile. It relied on trust, on anonymity, on remaining unofficial. The moment it became visible, it would be regulated, categorized, controlled. Still, influence leaked outward. Cooks carried ideas back to their day jobs. Small changes appeared on menus. A bolder spice, a strange pairing, a looseness in presentation. Diners responded without knowing why. Critics struggled to trace the source. A shift was happening, but it had no origin point, no press release, no opening date, just a gradual change in what people expected food to taste like. Then came the inevitable moment. A journalist heard whispers. An article was drafted. Questions were asked. The midnight kitchen faced exposure. And exposure threatened to end everything that made it possible. The threat of exposure changed the atmosphere immediately. Conversations quieted. Attendance dipped. People wondered who could be trusted. What had felt free now felt fragile. The cooks debated their options late into the night. Shut it down voluntarily. Move locations constantly. Formalize it just enough to survive. Each option carried loss. Formalization meant rules. Rules meant hierarchy. Hierarchy meant fear. Everything the midnight kitchen resisted. One night, the journalists arrived anyway. Unannounced. Curious, not hostile. They tasted. They listened. They sensed the tension. Instead of writing specifics, they wrote around it. About a feeling. About a city discovering flavor after dark. The article went live without addresses or names. It did not expose. It amplified atmosphere. And paradoxically, it protected the kitchen by refusing clarity. Interest surged, but only among those willing to search. The midnight kitchen became mythic, not accessible. It was discussed, but rarely found. The cooks adapted. They rotated nights, changed dishes constantly. No one owned the space. The kitchen remained fluid, resisting capture. What mattered was not survival, but diffusion. The flavors had already escaped. They lived now in countless small adjustments across the city, in bolder street food, in looser fine dining, in confidence to break rules. The midnight kitchen eventually faded, not dramatically, just gradually. Attendance thinned, nights grew shorter, life moved on, but its impact stayed, because the kitchen was never meant to last. It was meant to change how people tasted. And that realization carried the story toward its final moment. The ending of the midnight kitchen went mostly unnoticed. No final night, no announcement. One evening, the lights simply stayed off. By then, it no longer mattered. The kitchen had already done its work. It had loosened boundaries. It had recalibrated expectations. It had reminded a generation of cooks that rules are optional after midnight. Chefs who once gathered there went on to open restaurants of their own. Some carried the flavors directly. Others carried only the confidence, the willingness to improvise, to trust instinct over approval. Diners felt the change without tracing its source. Menus across the city grew bolder. Combinations felt freer. Heat and texture pushed further. The nation's taste shifted, slowly but permanently. The midnight kitchen never sought credit. It could not. It existed in the cracks, where influence is hardest to track. That invisibility protected it long enough to matter. Today, in a world obsessed with visibility and ownership, this story offers a different model of impact. The most powerful movements do not announce themselves. They happen quietly, after hours, in places no one thinks to look. What the midnight kitchen also produced was a different relationship between cook and audience. In formal dining, the cook is separated from the person eating by a kitchen wall, by a pass, by the managed distance of professional service. That separation is functional. It allows focus. It maintains a performance that formal dining requires. But it also removes something. The cook cannot see how you receive the food, cannot hear the specific quality of your silence as you taste, cannot adjust not just a technique, but to the room's mood at that particular hour. The midnight kitchen had none of that separation. Cooks moved through the space, heard conversations, saw faces, read the room continuously. That visibility changed what they made. Not consciously, always, but instinctively. A slower night produced quieter food. A celebratory gathering produced something with more heat, more generosity. The kitchen breathed with the room it fed. And this responsiveness was not something that could be documented as a technique. It could only be learned by doing, by standing in the same space as the people you were feeding, night after night, until the relationship between room and plate became intuitive. The cooks who emerged from those years carried that intuition into their subsequent careers. It made them different from those trained only in formal kitchens. They knew how to read silence, how to adjust without instruction, how to serve a room rather than a concept. That knowledge shaped the food they made wherever they went. And through that food, through menus that felt subtly alive in ways that precision alone could not explain, the midnight kitchen continued its influence, not as a place, as a disposition, toward cooking as conversation rather than performance, toward feeding as response rather than delivery, toward the radical idea that the most sophisticated thing a kitchen can do is pay close enough attention to actually see the people it is serving, and cook accordingly, every single night, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. That is how a midnight kitchen changed a nation's taste, not through recipes or reviews, but through the quiet formation of cooks who understood that food is always a conversation, and that the best conversations are not the ones where one person speaks and everyone else listens. They are the ones where both sides are genuinely paying attention. How a